I'm good, guys. How are you doing?
Yeah, look, I've been talking up this Leinster-Munster game. I was reliably informed by my producer. It's too early in the week to be getting excited about this, but it's not. It's not. This game this weekend is going to be good.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Definitely not too early to be getting excited about. I think if anything, the excitement from, or the result from last week, it just kind of feeds into that excitement even more because you're just running straight off. All right, that's the Six Nations chat done, and all of a sudden there's a Pro 14 final on the horizon. It's actually an unbelievable few weeks. We're in the middle of this unbelievable few weeks for rugby coming up, because you have the tail end of the Six Nations. You've Pro 14 final, Munster against Leinster this weekend. Weekend after that, you have Leinster-Toulon on the Friday night. You've got Munster against Toulouse on the Saturday. And fingers crossed, the week after that, you have, and also as well, you've got Ulster and Connacht, I should say, in Challenge Cup action that weekend. And then the following weekend, you've got quarterfinals, which hopefully we're going to have at least some Irish teams involved in over the course of those couple of games. So an absolutely brilliant few weeks ahead, and definitely not too early to be getting excited about Munster and Leinster.
I think the pendulum has swung Munster's favour with the injury news as well. I said this yesterday in the show. The confirmation about who was out came after the show, but Leinster are missing some serious firepower.
They really are. And I had to include in the bulletin, which I'll get to later on, but as we say, James Ryan, Gary Ringrose and Will Connors all out as well. And I don't know, I'm starting to feel like, is it Munster's time?
Yes.
Is this the week that they're actually going to do? Is this the year they're going to do it? We're talking 10 years on since their last trophy. And it's funny, I was only thinking a couple of weeks back, do you remember, it was probably the tail end of August, the couple of days after Munster and Leinster played in the Pro 14, the resumption of the Pro 14, Orge Snyman had done his cruciate that day, 7 minutes into his debut. He brought me on for a quick little flash when the news was confirmed, when you were on air on the show, that Snyman had in fact done his cruciate. He was out for the season. And I actually do distinctly remember, one of the questions we were trying to discuss was, is that Munster's season done? Is this season already a write-off? And how foolish do we look now?
Neil, I would say tread carefully here, because what Gerard is about to do is he's about to yarra away Leinster's chances as if they aren't the best team in Europe. That's what he's going to do. So just mind yourself, Neil. That's just a heads up. He's been doing it to me for the last 2 weeks.
No, I mean, have some balls. That's all I'll say to you, Owen Sheehan. This is a brilliant team that has been slowly, steadily adding layer after layer after layer after layer, and suddenly there's a couple of injuries they have, but not stuff that they can't deal with. They have their best players rounding into form. They have depth in key places, and we've seen just how important desire and motivation are. Two of their Warriors are playing their last ever, potentially, certainly their last ever Pro 14 game in a final. Is this not all set up for a joint lift between CJ and Billy Holland at the weekend?
And what I would say as well, to add to it as well, I don't think you can talk Munster up enough this week, because for how many times over the course of the last 3 or 4 seasons have we come into a Leinster and Munster week, whether it's in the middle of a season or whether it's a Pro 14 semi-final, which Leinster have inevitably won over the course of the last few seasons, where the main thing we've been talking about for the week is this even a rivalry anymore? Is the Leinster-Munster rivalry dead? Well, I think we cannot talk Munster up enough this week, because the more you do, the more it's going to build up that tension and build up the rivalry, not just for this weekend, but for hopefully a few more years down the line.
Yeah, it finally feels like those young players that we've been hearing so much about in the Munster Academy have made it to the level where they're putting genuine pressure on the starters, and the starters have improved as a result of that. So you've got that weird, heady blend of incredible levels of experience, nous, and now the brio of youth as well, who have finally got enough game time, who have finally got enough experience to be able to do themselves justice in a game like this at the weekend. We said this yesterday, Munster are 7-point favourites. Leinster are 7-point favourites. I could not make Leinster 7-point favourites. I think maybe a point and a half. This is a one-score game for me at the end this weekend, either way.
Yeah, I'd be going along those lines as well. I would say 7 does seem like a lot. I was thinking they were probably going to be 2 or 3 point favourites. Personally, I actually do think Munster might actually beat them this weekend. And look, if they do manage to actually get their hands on the trophy this weekend, I think you're going to look back at the probably October-November period in Munster season as being the absolute formative period for those players, because They were missing so many players consistently when, Ireland were in action, the Autumn Nations Cup and the tail end of the Six Nations. And that was the opportunity you got to see Gavin Coombs getting a lot of game time, Ben Healy getting a lot of game time, Craig Casey as well. A lot of those younger players, even Finian Wycherley, who's been established in the team for a couple of years, all of a sudden there were younger guys probably looking at him to be more of a leader in the team. And I think that was probably an incredibly formative time for those players. And it's one we'd probably look back on as well if they do get over the line. Even the likes of Damien de Allende, who I think has been absolutely brilliant this season for Munster, particularly in the games when the other internationals haven't been around, that he's been one of those leaders who's been able to carry through some of those younger guys. If you were to look at, the amount of tries he scored, he's only scored one try, but I don't think really Munster signed him to score tries. They signed him to be a massive presence in midfield and a big presence in the squad for those younger players, which is something he's absolutely been.
Yeah. Look, I'm incredibly excited about it. And Owen, get on the bandwagon, get enjoying this. None of this like protecting yourself with the veneer of studied irony. No, you're a sports fan. You've got to love it.
We did an item on the show last month, which I'm sure Neil Tracy will remember, about whether or not the Munster-Leinster rivalry is ready to explode back into life again. I was certainly on the side that this rivalry is back. You were on the side that it's not. So take your short-term memory and run away with it.
Things have changed. New information came to light. The rug really brings the room together, Owen. Come on. That's the thing. It's like, look, Carberry's back. CJ's going. New information came to light. You've got to agree that we did not have all of the available information at that point. That's all I'm saying. No Caelan Doris, no Ringrose, James Lowe's questionable form. Who else? Will Connor's missing. I think all of a sudden James Ryan missing. That's game on.
To what level are we going to expect some sort of needle here? Because I always go back to that first game that Neil references there, when you had de Allende and Sneeman playing, and you had this real tension actually between de Allende and Sexton. Felt on the night. Obviously there was a low blow, wasn't there, on Sexton from de Allende, which of course we don't condone. But if people can do like less low blows, but bring that same level of aggression and winding up the men in blue, that would be a welcome sight, I think, for everybody. Because the thing is, James Lowe and maybe some of his counterparts as well are going to be doing that all night long to Munster. That's one thing here, Neil. Like, what is James Lowe as a Munster fan? Watching James Lowe against Munster, one of the most annoying things, one of the most frustrating things, because A, he's really, really good, and B, he likes to do that really handsome smile that he's got when he does something really good.
Yeah, I certainly know quite a few Munster fans that he seriously gets under their skin when they're up against him. Obviously, they were fully behind him when he was in a green jersey with Ireland, but he just absolutely loves playing Munster. And I think he loves being involved in those games where there is a bit of niggle and there is a bit of tension just kind of simmering beneath the surface. And I certainly think definitely in the last year, as you kind of mentioned, that game back in August where de Allende threw in a little late one on Johnny Sexton, there was just that little bit of simmering tension throughout, which is always good for those big derby games. I think the fact as well that this is a final, like they wouldn't have met in a final since that game back in 2011, which Munster won at Thomond Park. Like, they've met in the knockout stages of Pro14 over the last few seasons. All of those were semi-finals, and they've probably come at times when things have felt maybe a little bit flat and there was an air of inevitability about what Leinster were going to do to Munster. It just feels like there's more of an even keel this week.
But I've just realised as well, because it's a final, because it's in the Aviva, it would have been sold out. Like, it absolutely...
No, it's
sorry, but it would have been in the Aviva if
no, because the soccer game, Ireland and
so
Ireland,
it would always have been the RDS anyway.
Yeah, it had to be at the RDS, even if there were going to be fans.
I guess if there was no COVID, then we probably wouldn't be playing it this week because the tournament would have gone on. But my point was that, like, a fully sold out big stadium with a trophy on the line between these two teams, that is something that we're definitely going to feel just as the anthem happens, he'll be like, oh man, we're missing out on a proper occasion here. With two teams, Munster finally worthy opponents, and I think potentially going to win this game this weekend. Neil, we've blasted through all our time by talking about that, but we're going to whet the appetite a bit more on the Type 5 tomorrow, so thanks very much for that.